All right. Right then. What's up, everyone? Thank you so much for joining us this evening. If you're on live or if you're catching the recording somewhere out in the interwebs, we really appreciate it. My name is Laura, and we also have Derek, aka Dani, on here tonight with us.
Sorry, I signed in under my kid's name.
We're really thriving on the technology side tonight, but if you don't know me, my name's Laura. I'm a ER nurse is my full-time job. On the side, I started Back of the Pack, which is a community that we tell stories of regular humans doing rad things, and we help people do hard things at their own pace. So big emphasis on trail running, but we're all about like all of the outdoor sports, mountain biking, skiing, paddling, hiking, backpacking. And yeah, it's been super fun. We do coaching, we do retreats, education, storytelling, all that jazz. And yeah, I live in Southwest Colorado. It's freezing cold here right now, not as cold as it is in Chicago, apparently. But I almost turned into a popsicle on a 13-minute walk just before this. So that's my story. Dani, what's yours?
My name's Dani. I am a nurse and I live, I guess I'm more central. I'm on the east side of Laura and just about 2 hours south of Denver. I'm a nurse. I oversee a school district here in the town that I live in, and I am currently enrolled in my family nurse practitioner program. And that's really what I'm a mom of an 17, almost 18-year-old kid that's about ready to go off to college. And I have a dog and a husband. It's pretty much me. And I like to do lots of stuff in the mountains.
Yes. I also have a dog and a husband. I left them out, but they're very important to me. Pressie is at my feet right now. She might make a cameo appearance at some point. Awesome. Well, yeah, tonight we're just super excited to chat with you guys. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to kind of like go back in time and just like briefly kind of talk about how Dani and I met in our first couple adventures that we shared. And then we'll really dig into what I think the meat of what y'all are here for, which is our summer/end of summer, early fall adventure that we're doing this year, which is the Softrock 100. So Dani and I met via the internet. I'll let Dani kind of share that story because I think she kind of found me through a unfortunately tragic event, but it got me her, so it was worth it.
I found Laura, honestly, on a complete whim. I like to search places I'm about to go and see people that have been there before. And my son had an upcoming mountain bike race in Leadville, Colorado, and I was looking at it and I came across Laura's post that she had been up there for the Leadville 100 volunteering, and she got her bike stolen. And so I called the team and was like, hey, bikes are getting stolen in Leadville. Like, we need to be careful. We connected. I followed her and then we started chit-chatting. And I want to say fast forward like a year and a half later, we met up in southwestern Colorado just at a trailhead and went biking together. And it was just kind of fate. Like we belonged together.
Yeah. Yeah. I had bought a new mountain bike and like 3 weeks later it got stolen, which is super unfortunate, but through the generosity of actually a lot of my friends kind of banded together and made a like, I don't know, they all like secretly Venmo'd one of my friends, and then all of a sudden I had all this money and was able to replace my bike. So that a year and a half later, when Dani was kind of in my neck of the woods, we met up and went mountain biking, and yeah, through like our chats and everything, you know, on Instagram before, and then through that bike ride, I think we just kind of learned that we had a lot of things in common. You know, we were nurses who nursed because it gave us the freedom to play outside. We both have very different nursing jobs. Dani works in a school district, and so she essentially works like more kind of regular hours, but has the entire summer off. Whereas I work in the ER, kind of non-traditionally, where I work more actually paramedic style hours. So I work like 2 24-hour shifts a week, which gives me, you know, 4 to 5 days off to play. So, but we definitely shared that, yeah, that love of balancing this career and family with Yeah, with nursing. So yeah, then I guess go ahead.
Well, she tends to always, and I'm waiting because January 31st for the past 2 years, she has talked me into doing something insane. For some reason, on that day, Laura sends me, I don't know, a race or something crazy. And so one night she sent me, you talked to me into signing up for a 30K. Like,
Oh yeah.
I was like, okay, I just had ankle surgery like 8 months ago. I'm going to run a 30K trail run with this girl I went biking with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we did that.
Yep. Yeah. The Dead Horse Ultra in Moab, Utah. Highly recommend. Super scenic, pretty runnable for the most part, other than the death hikes at the beginning and the end. Yeah. And I mean, I guess this year, at least I asked you before January 31st. I mean, I can't promise you that I won't ask another crazy on the 31st, but yeah, so Dani and I both ran the Dead Horse 30K, and then it must have been January 1st, 2024 that I then was like, hey, let's run a 50K. So last year we ran, it was both of our first 50Ks. It was the Hemes 50K outside of Santa Fe, New Mexico. It's in Los Alamos technically. And it was quite a day. We have a few recap posts on it, but essentially we battled like rain and hail and snow and thunder and lightning. And by the end of it, we also found out that there was a tornado nearby. We rerouted the 50-miler runners to finish earlier because the weather was so bad. We had multiple people like trying to convince us to leave the course, driving by in cars, offering us rides. We were offered like several warm vehicles, and we just said, like, we're just gonna keep going. Like, we're in this together. Dan was recovering from like some horrific upper respiratory thing, and then I at the end of it had my own like reactive airway problems, and yeah, so that was quite the adventure. And then we rolled that into over the summer, we did the Boulder Skyline Traverse. So those of you who live outside of the Front Range of Colorado have probably never heard of it. But the Boulder Skyline Traverse is an 18-mile route that connects the 5 most prominent peaks. So if you ever see like a skyline picture of Boulder with like the flat irons, there's 5 prominent peaks. And they create the Boulder Skyline Traverse. And so Dani and I decided, you know what? We suffered together on a horrendously cold, miserable day. Let's go do the Boulder Skyline Traverse at the end of June when it's miserably hot. How we do with that, which I'll let Dani tell that story.
Oh, so we met up in Boulder. This had been on our to be done list, and we thought it was going to be perfect. We scoped out some water sources. Her dad, in fact, met up with us along the way and brought us water and snacks, which was fabulous. But it was, oh man, the first 2 peaks were amazing. We had a great time climbing up. Is that
South Boulder?
South Boulder and
South
Bear.
Boulder and Bear. Yeah, Bear Peak is
super fun to climb up then. And then it just got super crowded with like the elite runners of Boulder. Everyone was training for like a 500-mile race, I swear. And they were all sponsored, and then it got really hot and I got in a really bad headspace. We made it all the way. We made 4 peaks, and we were going to have to lap the car. We were going to have to pass the car with all of the cold drinks and the air conditioning to go up Mount Sanitas at the end. And we both decided, I may have decided for us, that we were not continuing on. We were going to go to Mount Sanitas Brewing Company, and that was going to be our finale, was the brewing company. And Laura ended up doing it the next day. I had to leave and head back home, but she ended up going out Mount Sanitas with your friend Kelly, right?
Yep. Yeah. So the Skyline Traverse, those 5 peaks are South Boulder, Bear, Green Mountain, Flagstaff Peak, and then Sanitas. And so if you look at like the topography, it's really interesting to look at. Like you climb up really, really steep to go to South Boulder, and then you kind of just skirt the saddle down to Bear. which Bear Peak is the image that I used for the announcement of this webinar. It's like Dani and I on this kind of like rock face. So you do those two, and then you go down again, and then you summit Green. And like Green was the one that we did with my dad. But it got like super, super crowded, like lots of families, lots of other, like elite runners, like Dani said. And so I think our stoke levels like kind of started to drop off there around peak 3. And then peak 4 is Flagstaff, which is like, you don't actually reach a peak. You're just like in the woods, and they're like, there's a peak here somewhere. If you go off trail, like 100 feet, you can get to it, but it's like no views, like very anticlimactic. It's all of these like right turn here, left turn here, cross a public road, right turn, left turn, right turn, right turn, cross another public road. Like there's just like a lot of route finding, just like not super fun. So yeah, the stoke levels like really started declining after that. And then you just open up into this like no shade. It's like 95 degrees. And yeah, and like Dani said, so we decided, we're going to do the abridged version, and we're going to make, instead of Mount Sanitas, we're going to do Sanitas Brewing. And that was great. It was, we actually did like a little back of the pack meetup and got to hang out with some other people and not be like completely toast for that part. And then, yeah, I did go up Sanitas, with my friend Kelly the next day. And it was hot, no shade, absolutely miserable. And I remember like thinking like, I'm so glad we didn't do this the day before. So yeah, I think the lesson there is like, it's okay to bail, right? Like we don't have anything to prove. Like this was just hey, like it'd be super fun to like run all those peaks and be able to be in Boulder and be like, hey, we were on top of that. And we still get to say that because we still did, 4 of those 5 peaks. And I think South Boulder and Bear were more than worth it. But we actually made like an abridged route. And if anyone's interested in doing not quite the Boulder skyline, but the best parts of the Boulder skyline, we created our own route that maybe one day we'll go back and do, but
maybe.
So yeah, let's just like dive into the meat of it now. Which brings us to our next adventure. So,
we haven't suffered enough together.
Yeah, we found out that like we're really good at suffering together. I think we both like between Jemez 50K and the Boulder Skyline, I think we both definitely like had some really low moments. And we just kind of like rolled through it, like Dani had a really bad time on the end of the Boulder Skyline. And at one point I was like, I think I should just like stop talking. And like, I think she just needs to like be alone for a while. And like, so kind of like separated a little, like did her own thing. And then there was a moment in Jemez where I was like having a breathing problem. Like I'm an ER nurse, but then like I like couldn't figure out what was happening. I was like, what is that squeaking noise? It's like, that's my airway. I was like, Dani, like, what do I do? She hands me her inhaler. I don't even know how to use it. I'm like, what? I'm a nurse and I can't even use a freaking inhaler. So she has to like coach me through how to use an inhaler and like teach me how to breathe again. And so yeah, we learned through our adventures that we're good stuffer buddies. So, when you're looking for an adventure partner, look for someone that you can like be your worst with, and still be friends. We sent like an hour long of voice memos to each other every day since then. Yeah, like what is that? Like I'm like looking at my pack, like what is squeaking? Like is that my water bottle leaking air? And then all of a sudden I was like, wait, no, it's actually every time that I breathe. Yeah, that was a bad day. That's a bad day for me. So yeah, so Softrock. Softrock is it's the soft version, I guess, of the Hardrock 100, which if you are adjacent to the ultra running world in any way, you've probably heard of it. But Hardrock 100 is known as like the toughest. Cressy, grow up. Told you she'd make an appearance. There, okay. So the Hardrock 100 is known as like the toughest 100-mile trail run out there. It takes place in the San Juan Mountains of Colorado, which are super steep, super rugged, often compared to the Alps in kind of their topography. And the Hardrock is 102.5 miles. It gains 33,000 feet of elevation, loses the same amount. Finishers have 48 hours to do it. A significant amount of them finish in the 47th hour. The highest point is the peak of Handy's Peak, which is 14 something. The lowest point is the town of Ouray, which is like 8,000 feet. So you're essentially just hanging out between 8 and 14,000 feet for 48 hours. If you're one of the final finishers, it's pretty gnarly. It's a lot of off trail. And so Dani and I decided that sounds really fun. Let's do it. Stupid amount of elevation. But the thing about the Hardrock 100 is you have to qualify for it by running like a very select, there's a select list of 100-mile races that you have to run in order to qualify to then run the Hardrock, or rather to then qualify to enter the lottery to run Hardrock. And then you have to win a lottery ticket, which it's like something like 2,000 runners enter the lottery for 140 tickets. So it literally takes people like 10 years to get in, and like continually running 100-milers to then qualify to do it. So we're like, well, we're not doing that. Let's just do it on our own. And since we're going to do it on our own, let's do it over 4 days instead of 48 hours. So that was the inspiration. It's kind of like pretty like, well known in this like niche little world that we live in. There's like I know like I'm adjacent to quite a few people that have done it. So I'd kind of like heard about it, and like Dani had heard about it. Dani has a lot of experience in through hiking. So kind of similar crossover there. And yeah, that's what it is. And I guess Dani, if you have anything to add on the why there.
I think my why is because it's an objective. Like, I don't have to pay somebody to go out and do this. I get to go do this with somebody I want to do this with. I'm not chasing cutoff times, which is something we experienced in Jemez. Jemez was also, the 50K was also a very, but there was like 6,000 feet of vert that we had to cover, 6,600, an obscene amount of vert that day. And we were chasing cutoff times. And so we paid all this money and we didn't get the good snacks. We didn't get the good views. We didn't get the experience we were expecting, even though it was a great experience. So by choosing an objective, we get to do it together. We cut out the middleman cost, and we get to make it our own adventure instead of somebody else's adventure. I did the Colorado Trail back in 2021. So I spent a lot of time in the San Juan Mountains, and Handy's Peak was the first 14er I ever climbed with my son. So I think just the entire aspect of it being in the San Juans really kind of calls to me. And then for the past like 3 years, I've watched, or maybe it's been 2 years since Hardrock has been broadcasted to where you can watch it. And I watch that stuff like somebody would watch trash reality TV. Like, I love it. We were on a adventure in the Pacific Northwest when it happened this year, and I had it on my phone while we were driving, and I was like, we have to get somewhere where there's service so I can see where Courtney Dauwalter is. Like, I love this stuff. So yeah. I'm a mediocre uphill athlete. I'll never be an elite athlete, and that's okay. But we can still do some of these amazing things that these elite athletes do. We just have to make it our own. That's why I want to do it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Hardrock is like my favorite weekend out of every year. I've volunteered at the aid station the last 3 years. At the Telluride aid station, and it's just super fun. I always try and make the finish line the golden hour, which is that last 1 hour, that 47th hour is super, super special. Dale Garland, the race director, he stays up for the entire time. And he greets every single runner by name and with a hug when they come into the finish line, which is super special. That 47th hour of Hardrock, like there's not a dry eye at the finish line. Like the people who won, so the people that ran it in 24 hours, they've gone home, eaten 3 cheeseburgers, taken a shower, slept for 10 hours. Like, they come back and they cheer on those final runners. And it's a really cool community. If you're into ultra running, like, make your way to the San Juans for that race. And it's just, yeah, it's super cool. The San Juan Mountains are super special. And yeah, so, and I just also wanted to add to Dani's point about like, you know, like it kind of like, for me, it came down to this like race first objective. And I think that one of the things that we have to think about when we're choosing, you know, these big goals is like, where does it align with our values? And like for me, and I think, you know, similarly for Dani, like it's community and it's fun. And it's just long days in the mountains. Like, I don't care about standing on a podium. I don't care about my ultra sign up results. Like, I just want to go play in the mountains and have fun. And so when I was, you know, trying to think about like, what kind of year did I want to have? Like, was it a big race objective? Or was it a big race, or was it a big objective? Objective won out because that is more aligned with the values that I have for this sport. And also, like, I love Mad Moose events. If you live in Colorado and Utah, like, they're amazing. They do amazing races, but like, I am not paying $200 to run a 50K. Absolutely not. I can do that on my own. So yeah, that was, you know, I think the race environment is super fun, and I don't want to like discourage anyone from that. But I also think that like, I still will run some races this year. But for me, like, when it came to that kind of like a objective, I wanted it to be different this year. So that brings us to yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. It was also like when we trained for it's also, I think, like, when you set your goals, you look at like what you want your year to look like. When we did Jemez, it was the beginning of May last year, and we were tapped out. Like, the recovery from something like that took our June away. So by choosing an objective towards the end of the summer, beginning of fall, we basically get to play all summer in the mountains, and it's training. And then we have this big finale as we go into like a little softer of a season in the fall. So really just the timing really worked out for us. We do have a question about, is it an established route with Rex for places to stay overnight, food drops, or are we planning the logistics from scratch?
Yeah. So, yeah, Dani, we'll get into that. I'm actually going to share like some of the routing that I did, but essentially, like, yeah, the Hardrock. So the Hardrock 100, so we're just using their race route. So it's an established route, and I found it on Gaia, which is a GPS mapping app. And I was able to kind of segment out each day. But the cool thing about the Hardrock and the way that it's set up in the race is, so you start in the town of Silverton, Colorado, and you go over a pass into it. So every year it alternates. Some years, every other year, it goes clockwise versus counterclockwise. We're going to do the counterclockwise route, which is theoretically easier, but like, it all is the same elevation gain and loss. So I don't really understand how that maths, but it's also the route that they're doing this year. So essentially, so we'll start in Silverton, and then we'll go to it says Lake City, which is another kind of mountain town in the area, but it actually doesn't go all the way into Lake City. It goes to like some camp areas around Lake City. And then from there, it goes to Ouray, which is another little mountain town. And then from there, it goes to Telluride, which is another mountain town. And then it goes back to Silverton. So we kind of have these natural points, being camping near Lake City, staying in the town of Ouray, staying in the town of Telluride, is kind of how we were like, well, that's like 4 days. And just from like the general research that we did, most people take 4 days to do it. It ends up being anywhere from 16 to 30-ish miles per day, depending on kind of like, really the only like big change that people are making is like where they're camping that first night. So you can kind of have a really long first day and then a shorter second day, which is, I think, what we're going to opt to do. And then, but yeah, everything else is kind of like, you're going to stay in Ouray, you're going to stay in Telluride. Like, those are just the easy stops. So, I mean, I can like keep rolling with that, I guess, with that part of it. So I'll show you guys if I can figure it out. Where is it? What the heck? I can't find it. Dani, you can keep chatting while I find this if you.
Oh, what else? I think the cool thing too about this is it's Laura comes from trail running and I come from a through hiking aspect. And this is like the best of both worlds where we get to be out long days on trail. We don't have to carry a lot of gear. We'll each have a trail running vest. We'll have water. We'll have the capacity to filter water when we find natural resources. And of course, we'll have carbs on carbs on carbs. Our plan is to have boxes or some sort of drop in each town. We have not, as we get closer, we'll figure that out when we like know where we're staying in Ouray. Hopefully we can go drop something down there. And in Telluride, and then Silverton will be our end. And I believe Laura's husband is meeting us our first night, correct? Hopefully, cross your fingers. Jared is the real MVP. Robert's
here if he's listening and says no.
Oh.
No. That's yeah. So the plan is I have family in Durango, which is about I don't know, an hour and change from Silverton. So we'll stay the night there and then we'll get up super early the next morning, drive to Silverton, get dropped off there, start our trek. And then Jared will Jeep. He's a big Jeep guy. So he'll, there's like a ton of Alpine like Jeep roads around there. So it makes it really easy for him to like Jeep in a campsite for us. And so we'll spend the night there and then we'll go to Ouray, where that's like kind of, I guess, like our biggest logistical hurdle at this point is like, we're going to have to get like a hotel or Airbnb and then kind of figure out like the drop bag situation of like, it's easy because we can just go out to dinner, right? Like we're going to be in a town. But then thinking about like, what about our tailwind and our scratch and like all of those other things that we're going to want to refuel, which we'll probably just have like a friend of mine, like run some stuff up there or something. And then from there, we'll go to Telluride. I have family there. So like, that's super easy for us to leave like some drop goods there. And then, back to Silverton and get picked up again on the other side. So I'm going to share, I can figure it out. I'm going to share my screen. I don't know how to do this. Oh gosh.
Is there a present button?
Click. Oh, I have to like change my to change my preferences, you guys. I'm sorry. This is not my oh my god. Okay, this is insane. No, it's gonna make me quit and reopen, so I'm not gonna do that. That's super unfortunate. What I will do, actually, you guys can probably open this. I'll drop the link in the chat. That's super. I wish I would have figured that out before. So this is the route. You can open that up and I'll kind of like walk you guys through. So this is the entire route. And then, so what I did from this is I took it and I really am sad I can't share my screen.
Am I sharing mine?
Can you share yours?
Now I'm all blue. Oh, hold on. Yep. Can you see my screen?
Yes. Okay. I wonder though. No.
Okay. Can you click at the bottom just where it says, hold on, stop presenting. It just says present now.
Well, that's what I was doing, but it's like, oh wait, maybe it'll let me do it now for some reason, even though I didn't quit. Yes. Okay. Cool. It told me I had to quit Google Chrome, but apparently I didn't. Okay.
Yay!
So this is the whole route, right? So, so down here is Silverton. So down in like the center of the screen is Silverton. And so again, we're going to go clockwise. So we're going to go from here to somewhere, I think like right around here. No, Burroughs Park. That's going to be our first stop. So this is a 34-mile day. So our first day is going to be the longest day, and that's because the second day is the day that you summit Handy's Peak, which is somewhere like right in here. So we wanted to start that on like super fresh legs. And then, so the second day will take us up and over Handy's and then down into Ouray. And then the third day is the shortest day at 16 miles, and that will take us from the town of Ouray up and over Imogene Pass and then down into Telluride. And then the final day will be Telluride back to Silverton. So what I did with this is you can see here, I like segmented out all of the routes. So I have like Softrock day 1, Softrock day 2, Softrock day 3. Which if I change this, yes, okay, sweet. Technology is so cool. So what I did with Gaia, and I think you can only do this if you have the paid version, but I took that route and I copied it. So I duplicated the route. So I still have the original route, but then with each duplication, what I'm doing is like creating mini routes. So this is the route of day 1. So this again is Silverton to Burroughs Park, which is a camp area right outside of Handy's Peak. So it's going to be 33 miles, 10,000 feet of gain. You know, you got this massive climb right out of Silverton and a massive drop, another massive climb, and then kind of a gradual descent down into the camping area. So this shows you like the max elevation, the minimum elevation of the day, your total ascent and descent. And then from there, we go to day 2, which is the segment into Ouray. So again, big climb. This is going to be up to Handy's Peak. See, it says max elevation of 13.9. Handy's is like barely 14, I think. So it actually is going to go up to 14, but you know, mapping's never perfectly accurate. So, and then so this will be up Handy's, down Handy's, and then another little tiny climb. And then so this will actually be like kind of a chill day. Like our ascent's only 6,000. We're descending more than we are ascending. That'll be nice. Chill day at 24 miles. And then day 3, this is going to be the day from Ouray to Telluride. So again, another like chill day, which will be nice. 15 miles, 5,000 feet, just like one big long slog up the hill and one big slog down. And then day 4 is a brutal ending, up and down and up and down and up and down for 20 miles and 10,000 feet. So we'll get our little rest day in the day before, our active rest day.
I haven't seen that one.
I was like, as I was doing this, I was like, I think this is the first time Dani's actually seen this.
Yeah.
But now I have you on camera saying that you're going to do it, so you can't bail.
Oh, I'll do it. I just might cry a little bit.
That's okay.
Okay.
So yeah, so again, like how I did that, if you guys do have Gaia, is you click like the main route, and then down here you can do duplicate track. I'll just kind of, can you guys still see my screen when I'm doing things? Because like I can't see you guys anymore, so it's very complicated for me. Okay, so
yeah.
Okay. So I'll just save this. So this is a new copy, and then from here you can go crop track. So then it like warns you, hey, it's permanent. So, but I already duplicated it, so I'm going to continue. So this shows you the full one, and then so yeah, like literally all I did was I was like, okay, like day 1, and see how it's kind of like the lines disappearing. I was like, okay, yeah, we want to stop right around there, and then you save that crop. So I think this is the other option of where we can stop somewhere like more like right here, I think. So that would be, what would that end up being? So that'd be end up being like 28-mile day instead of what we are going to do, which I think is more like 34. So that's how we did that. And I guess while we're here, I'll show you guys how I got that route. I just went to the Hardrock website. And from there, I went to course description. And then it has this GPX file. So this lets you click that and you can download it. And then I uploaded it into Gaia. So that's how I like got that route in there. And then they have like all of these other references that you can look at. But if you were like, well, I don't necessarily want to do that, but it would be fun to section hike like some other 100-miler. I mean, Dani and I have, to be frank, already like talked about some other ones that would be fun to do. But that's how you do it. You literally just like go to the website, grab the GPX file, upload it to Gaia, and then you can kind of like copy it out and play with some segments. The other thing that we did, which I didn't find a whole lot out there as far as like written blogs, but there were a couple that kind of like wrote blogs about like what they did and how they did it. So we kind of like referenced those a little bit. And we've certainly watched like a lot of YouTube videos of other people that have done it. But I think really like for us, you know, the combination of Dani's through hiking experience and then my, you know, I live near the San Juans. So like my intimate knowledge of these mountains and kind of obviously like having a lot of family and friends around to help are some like really key things, right? Like I always say, like trail running is a team sport. Definitely like could not do this by ourselves. I mean, we could, but it would be a lot harder.
A lot harder.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think,
yeah,
I think like an objective to versus a race is that I think planning things are half the fun. So Laura has like a lot of experience when it comes to like this Gaia stuff. I do not. So she's going to be on that end. Whereas I can totally figure out resupply boxes. I've done that before. Like, so our niches together really create a really great, I guess, collaboration when it comes to this. So, and it's just so fun to plan something instead of just, and don't get me wrong, like I love races too. I will do races, but you show up, you do the thing they tell you to do, you turn around at the places they tell you to turn around, and there's adventure, but not, I think this takes it to a different level of adventure. And I just think it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like the thing to think about is like the stepping stones, right? Like, I don't think I would have wanted to do something like this if I hadn't run a supported 50K already.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like for me now, it's like, okay, I know that I can do 33 miles in a day with that support. So now that I had that support and didn't have to think about that, because like it's a lot of like mental energy, right? To think about like turn here, turn here, turn here. Am I feeding myself? Like, you know, I don't have an aid station. So like I need to make sure that I'm like constantly feeding myself and like, you know, taking care of ourselves and like not being completely reliant on one another, like in the middle of the San Juans. So I think, yeah, like that doing that 50K together was a really nice stepping stone of like, okay, we know that we can travel this far. Now we just have to figure out. And then like from there, then doing the Boulder Skyline Traverse was like kind of a mini version of this. Like it was a one day, like, you know, we had to figure out, like that's a, you know, it's a traverse. So like you start and end at different places. So like, okay, how are we going to like start and end like car wise? Like, what are we going to do? There's not a lot of water on that route. So like that was, you know, one thing to figure out, like how much food do we need? And again, like luckily with that one, like trail running is a team sport. My dad showed up, he shuttled us to the start of it, dropped us off, took a happy picture, sent us on our way, and then met us, you know, a few hours later with Gatorade and cookies and things like that. So I think like those two kind of combined, like the mini logistical Boulder Skyline with the distance effort of the 50K is like what makes us feel like, okay, we can actually pull this off now.
You're right. Like I forget to think about like the stepping, like we have really gradually worked our way towards here, but to know it's doable, it's absolutely doable to go play in the mountains like this.
Yeah, for sure. I think kind of the only other thing that we had at least on the list to chat about was just kind of like the training, which right now is kind of boring, but the questions that I got from Instagram, we kind of already answered those. Favorite resources for logistics and planning. So again, like Gaia, Google search, and YouTube. And then someone else asked if it was self-supported or organized. So I would say it's not necessarily self-supported because we are going to have support and in friends and family, both on the days that we're doing it and in all of the lead up. But yeah, I think the only really other thing that we were going to kind of chit chat about was the training. Unless anyone else has any other questions before we dive into that, we're happy. You can drop them in the chat or unmute yourself. Okay. We'll keep rolling. Um, Training, do something every day and do a lot more all summer long. The end.
Much
No,
more, a lot more cross training too.
yeah. Yeah, so I think the thing that both Dani and I found with last year's 50K was like it really sucked. We ran and we ran and ran all winter long, which in Colorado is not the time to be running. And that was really hard. So, you know, Dani kind of spoke to this in the beginning of like picking the time to do it. So our plan is to do this. It was to do this Labor Day weekend until one of my best friends decided to do that for her wedding weekend. So TBD on when we actually do it. But sometime in August, September. Um, and yeah, so I think for us, the big thing with that was like Dani said, like we don't want to lose our summer being tired from doing something like this. We want to use our summer to build up to something like this. So yeah, right now we're just both doing like a ton of base building, like super easy runs, lifting. We are both following the practical athlete program. I'm personally aiming for 2 days a week. 3 is awesome if I get it. Dani, I don't know what you're.
I want to focus a lot more on lifting in the beginning part of this, just because I let that go to the wayside in the 50K. So my goal is 3 lifts a week. But it doesn't always happen right now. So,
Yeah.
2 is great, but 3 is the goal at this point.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So like right now, you know, for the next couple months while it's still really cold here in Colorado is just, yeah, really leaning into that base building, that foundations of getting strong. You know, obviously 33,000 feet of elevation gain. Like we have a lot of lunges in our future to get ready for that. And then like cross training. Dani's got a Peloton at home. Right now I'm skiing once or twice a week. In resort right now, and I'll transition to backcountry so I can get a lot more uphilling. That's kind of that like low and slow cardio that's really good for aerobic base building that I'll start doing here next week once we get a little bit better snowpack. And then we'll kind of like as things warm up and thaw out and snow starts to melt in the mountains, the goal will just be to spend as many long days as possible up in the mountains, having fun in preparation. Lots of big like back-to-back days. You know, I think both Dani and I have a running list of kind of like smaller, you know, 10 to 20, 25 mile days that we want to tick off this summer in preparation. There's a couple peaks that I stare at every day from work, and I'm like, well, I should probably like start climbing those. They gain something like 4,000 feet in 4 miles or something. So I figure I'll probably have to start doing those at some point. Yeah. That's like
I think it's sorry.
No,
Just
go.
weird with the thing.
Yeah.
I think too, like making like training is not always going to be fun. Like you're going to have to do some of the crappy work. It's just the way it is. But I think it's important. My dog got a toy. Sorry. No. Go get it. I think it's important to make your training fun. And that was something I missed last time. I put way too much pressure on myself. I was paying for a program. I had to do it this way. If I didn't do it, I was a failure and I was never going to make it to the finish line. And that's just not the case. Like, I think it's so important to cross train, to make your training fun. If you're training for something big, like a mountain adventure like this, like get up in the mountains, try to replicate it as much as you possibly can, if that's possible. Or it's really just as many miles on your feet as you could possibly get, but in a way of making it fun. Find people to go with you, find people that are interested in the same things, even if they don't have the same goals. Like Laura and I live, what are we, 5 hours from each other? And we don't get to train together very often. We do have upcoming, we'll talk about that. Any chance we get to be together, that's great. But I have other friends. Laura has other friends. And we utilize those people too and lean on them. And my poor husband, he just gets signed up to go right along with this. So he does what he can with me as well. So
yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think that balance of like, having fun and then also recognizing that like there still needs to be work. Like, do I necessarily like want to go climb that peak that's like 4,000 feet of gain in 4 miles? Like when I get off work, like, really? No, I don't want to do that. But I know that it's work that's going to pay off. And I think, Dani and I have had a lot of conversations about like making sure that this process stays fun and that like building in those long, fun days of objectives that we want to do. Like mountain biking is also really important to both of us. So making sure that we're still including like 1 to 2 days a week of that. And that's still training, right? Like I think some people get like very narrow minded and it's like, it all counts. Time on feet is important, but everything counts. All of that extra stuff, fun stuff.
I think we really just want to showcase that normal people with full-time jobs and lives can do really cool, fun stuff. Like certain things have to give, but you can make all of these things happen. And we just want more. There's some guys on here. We just want more girls on trail, but guys too. We just want more people in the mountains.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, we obviously like we both live in Colorado and it makes it like very easy to go play in the mountains. But I think even if you don't, like, there are ways to get around that. If you want to like do a big mountain adventure, like you can Flatlanders can do this too. It's just a lot more step ups and time on the Stairmaster. And yeah, I mean, speaking of a Stairmaster, Dani and I have a long Stairmaster coming up. Yeah, like she said, we live 5.5 hours away from each other, and I conveniently bought a car that doesn't have a dealership within like 4 hours of me. So I'm gonna pair some service on my car with a trip to go see Dani and do a big training day out there in early March. So we'll probably bring you guys along that adventure in some way. Yeah. What questions do you guys have? Who wants to do Softrock?
Well, it sounds super cool. That's a lot of elevation.
It is a lot. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It will be. It's so the funny thing about Hardrock 100, the actual course, is that they don't call it a race. It's like they just call it. It's like the Hardrock 100 trail run or something. Yeah, the run. Like they don't actually call it a race. And if you listen to some episodes of Dale Garland, like talking about it, he's really just about like that community, and everyone supporting each other. And also like, it's really hard to race when you're going up 33,000 feet of elevation gain. There certainly are like races that do happen. Obviously like the elites, the top 10 are definitely racing. But yeah, a lot of it's hiking.
So how long are your days? If you're doing 33 miles one day, how long does that approximately take?
Like 12 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say, 12, 13 hours.
Yeah. I think 12 would be great, but I bet up to 14 probably realistically.
Yeah.
And what are you anticipating in terms of, are you going to try to run the downhills and the flats, or are you just going to power hike? What's the strategy there?
Yeah, I think exactly that. There's a lot of hiking, a lot of like really, really steep scree fields. I've sectioned hike, or I've hiked a few of the sections, and it's some parts are really brutal. But yeah, there certainly is like a lot of really fun runnable stuff. And I think, like my plan as far as like gear is just probably like maybe like a 20-liter kind of fast pack that I can run with. It's the same thing that I used in the Grand Canyon. And yeah, so we'll hike the ups and run the flats and the moderate downs. There's some downs that are like, hang on for dear life.
Are you gonna use poles, you think, too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Nice.
for sure.
For sure.
Good
Mhm.
plan.
Yeah.
And what are you gonna use one of the pump squeezy things for your water?
Mhm.
Or yeah, okay.
Yeah. Let me see if I can share my screen again. Or I'll just
Do you want
send
me
you
to go
guys.
grab mine?
Yeah.
I'll go grab it. Hold on.
Mm-hmm. And I'll send you guys the link for it. This is my favorite.
Is the water are the water sources reliable? Because I do worry about that a little bit.
Yeah, no, they're super
Oh,
reliable. There's a lot of
okay.
water in the San Juans.
Nice.
Lots of rivers everywhere. Um,
Yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your specific gear once you get that dialed in. Like,
mhm.
are you gonna have are you gonna wear gaiters? Are you gonna wear yeah, have you decided on your shoes yet? That kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think yeah, so we'll definitely we'll continue to do wow, I don't know. Sorry, that's like a really long link. Yeah, Danny Kershaw tells are my favorite. Yeah, I think so. Our plan with this is to do like one a month. And kind of like really
Nice.
like bring you guys along the journey. So particularly I think as we get into like July and August, we'll do like a gear breakdown and more of like a food thing.
Mm.
But yeah, there's a link there. So this filter cap and
Oh, yeah. Got it.
oh, yours is different than mine.
But, well,
Something different. Okay, talk about yours
this
and then I'll
is
talk
what
about
I
mine.
use.
Okay.
So it's a Sawyer squeeze.
Okay.
And then I have a what would this be? I don't know what it's made out of. Maybe silicone. It's real lightweight. It's what I carry when I'm backpacking. So you put the dirty water in here and then it attaches here.
Right.
And then you squeeze right into your bottle.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
and there's also, do you talk about the one you have with the cap?
Yeah. So yeah, I just dropped a link to it. So, and this is like a great example of like figuring out what works like best for you.
Yeah.
So I have is just this filter top that I have like a bunch of just like 500 ml soft flasks. And it's just a filter top. It's the same kind of top as my normal bottle.
Interesting.
But it filters it. So I just put that on and then similarly turn it upside down and you can squeeze it into another bottle or drink directly out of it. Yeah, so that's, I mean, I'll probably just use that filter cap. That's been what I've used for the last couple of years.
And then I always carry water purifying tablets too, just in case, because you can have a malfunction.
Yeah. So are you gonna bring stoves as well? Well, stove or not? No.
Okay. No. Just I bet Jared will have something for us the first night. Right, Laura? Yeah. But I think the others, because we'll be in Ouray and then we'll be in Telluride.
Yeah,
so
true.
we won't need that. So it's kind of like a backpacking, but without the backpack and the gear, because we get to sleep in a bed.
Yeah,
it sounds super also super liberating, right? Not to have to carry all your gear.
Yeah. And like, I mean, even honestly, like that first night, I was reading a blog where like someone had arranged like a shuttle into Lake City. So like we theoretically could like sleep in real beds and like get a cheeseburger every night if we wanted to. It's kind of,
I mean, and also like once you decide where you're gonna stay, you could totally just just mail a box to them, right?
Yeah.
It's not a big deal to figure it out.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, again, like this is super easy for us just because it's kind of our collective backyard in a way. And we do have family and friends kind of along the way, which makes it really easy. But yeah, like I think if I was doing this and didn't live here, I would just find out the address of where I was staying and mail a box. And
totally. I'm curious, I've got a question, like what are you feeling the most uncertain about and how are you going to be able to mitigate that over the time that you have?
How hard it's going to be and like what physically will be required of us. And I think for me, it's just that like stack bricks mentality of like the work is going to get done like day in and day out. And like those easy, short 30-minute runs that don't seem like they're doing anything like 6 months from now, like that's really going to start to add up and grow and just make all those big days easier. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think making sure we put in the work. It's going to take a lot of work, but I say out there, weather is something that is always like my number one concern. Especially if I'm used to having a backpack where I can throw a tent up and get in, or I can get under something, or we were in a lot of lightning and hail at one point in the Jemez, and we just had to keep going through it. I don't like that. So I think weather for me being high Alpine, but with it being August and September, I think we'll have better weather. Hopefully the monsoons, they should have passed by then. So yeah, I think weather, and then like any type of emergency situation always comes into my mind too. But we carry Garmin mini inReaches, so we have access. If we do have an emergency, we have the means necessary to get in contact with somebody.
And you're both medics, so that's like,
Yeah.
Except I don't know how to use an inhaler, so I don't know how good I am out there.
We got you through it.
Just kidding.
Well, she also didn't want. I had the flu, so I'm using my inhaler because I have the flu, and she didn't want the flu, which is fair, but we also didn't want her to stop breathing out there, so we just had to. It was hilarious. She was like, she was. You did a good job, Claire. You did a good job.
Struggle bus. Yep. Yeah. All right. We have to end this because 4 of us have another call starting in 1 minute.
Oh.
We have our EPN cohort call. But yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. We really appreciate like the support and the stoke and the interest in what we're doing. And yeah, like I said, while Dani was grabbing her filter, we're gonna our goal is to do these once a month. We both work full time, and we're now in full-time school as well. So we'll do our best at least every 4 to 6 weeks. And kind of just continue to bring you guys along and share like the training and the nutrition and the gear and all the fun things. So, yeah, I'll throw this recording up and then stay tuned for episode 2 of Softrock.
Well, thank you.
It's good to meet you all. Thanks so much.